You touched more lives than you'll ever know. In ways you never intended. In moments you've already forgotten. There's something peculiar about the way memory works. Not your memory of others, but their memory of you. Right now, somewhere in this world, someone is remembering something you said. Something you did. Something you were, in a moment that meant nothing to you at the time, but everything to them. Maybe it was a Tuesday afternoon in 1987 when you held the door for a stranger at the grocery store. She was carrying too many bags, her arms trembling with the weight, and you simply waited. You didn't think about it. You were raised to hold doors. But she remembers. She remembers because that morning, her husband had told her she was worthless. That afternoon, a stranger's simple kindness reminded her she wasn't invisible. Or perhaps it was the way you laughed at your nephew's terrible joke during that family gathering 15 years ago. Everyone else had moved on to adult conversation, but you stayed. You listened to his elaborate setup about the chicken and the road, and when he delivered the punchline with such earnest hope in his eyes, you didn't just smile politely. You laughed. Really laughed. He's a father now, and when his own children tell him jokes, he remembers the sound of your laughter. He remembers feeling seen. We spend so much time cataloging our failures, don't we? The harsh words we can't take back. The times we should have been kinder, more patient, more present. We carry these regrets like stones in our pockets, weighing us down with every step. But what about the other memories? The ones we left behind without even knowing we were creating them? You were someone's first glimpse of grace under pressure. Someone's example of how to age with dignity. Someone's proof that gentleness still exists in this world. Think about it. Really think. How many small moments have you witnessed that stayed with you? The cashier who took extra time with the elderly woman counting change. The neighbor who always waved, even when you pretended not to see. The teacher who believed in the quiet kid in the back row. These people probably have no idea they're living rent-free in your memory, decades later. You are that person to someone else. Multiple someone else's. There's a phenomenon psychologists call reminiscence bump, the tendency for older adults to recall more memories from their teenage years and early 20s than from other periods of their lives. But there's another kind of bump, one they don't talk about in textbooks. It's the way certain people create lasting impressions without trying, without even knowing. Your mother had one of these moments with you, didn't she? Maybe it was the way she hummed while doing dishes, transforming the mundane into something almost sacred. Or how she always seemed to know exactly what to say when the world felt too heavy. She probably had no idea she was teaching you resilience in those quiet kitchen conversations. But there you were, absorbing her wisdom like a sponge, storing it away for the decades to come. Now you're the age she was then. And somewhere, someone is remembering the way you handle difficulties with quiet strength. The way you make the ordinary feel special. The way you've learned to find peace in simple moments. Mrs. Peterson from down the street, you remember her, with the perfectly tended roses and the way she always seemed to be outside when the school bus arrived. She never said much, just a nod and a smile. But her presence was constant, reliable. A fixture of safety in a changing world. You probably passed her house 1,000 times, and she was there, keeping watch without you ever realizing it. Who are you keeping watch over now? Which children see your porch light as a beacon of stability? Which neighbors draw comfort from your predictable routines, your steadfast presence in an uncertain world? The mailman who's delivered to your house for 20 years, he knows your rhythms better than most of your friends. He's noticed when you've been sick, when you've had visitors, when you've been lonely. In his rounds through the neighborhood, your house represents something more than just another stop. It's part of the tapestry of his working life, a thread of familiarity in days that blur together. And you? You've probably never considered that your simple good morning on those days when you happen to be outside has punctuated his route with human connection. That your willingness to accept packages for neighbors has made you part of the small community he carries with him from street to street. There's a Japanese concept called mono no aware, the bittersweet awareness of the impermanence of all things. But perhaps there's something even more profound, the awareness that our temporary presence in this world creates permanent impressions in others. That our fleeting moments of kindness, patience, and simple human decency ripple outward in ways we can't trace or measure. You changed someone's trajectory without knowing it. Your words, spoken in passing, became someone's guiding principle. Your example, lived quietly, became someone's inspiration. Your presence, taken for granted by you, became someone's comfort. The barista at the coffee shop you used to frequent, she's moved on to other things now, maybe started her own business or moved to a different city. But she carries with her the memory of the customer who always said please and thank you, who asked about her day and actually waited for the answer. In a job filled with rushed transactions and impatient faces, you are the reminder that kindness still exists. Your 7th grade English teacher retired years ago, but she still thinks about the students who made her career worthwhile. You might not remember much about that class, but she remembers you. The way you tried, even when the material was difficult. The way you defended the quiet kid when others were cruel. The way you showed up, day after day, with a willingness to learn that made all her preparation and grading feel meaningful. These are the memories you left without knowing. The legacy you've been building one small interaction at a time. Here's what might surprise you most: the moments that haunt you, the ones you replay with regret, often aren't the ones others remember. That time you lost your temper at the family reunion? Your cousin remembers how you apologized later, how you pulled her aside and admitted you were wrong. She learned something about humility that day, about the courage it takes to make things right. The day you couldn't make it to your friend's mother's funeral because of your own family crisis? She doesn't remember your absence. She remembers the handwritten note you sent, the one where you shared your own memories of her mother. She kept that note. It's still tucked inside her mother's Bible. We are terrible historians of our own impact. We focus on our failures while being blind to our gifts. We remember our shortcomings while forgetting the countless times we showed up exactly as we were needed. Your granddaughter will one day tell her children about the way you always had butterscotch candies in your purse. How you let her help with the crossword puzzle even though she couldn't spell most of the words. How you made her feel important, valued, heard in a world that often treats children as afterthoughts. These aren't grand gestures. They're the small, consistent acts of love that build a child's sense of worth. The neighbor who brings in your garbage cans when you're out of town, you think it's a simple favor. But for her, it's part of the rhythm of caring that makes a neighborhood feel like home. Your willingness to reciprocate, to notice when her newspaper stays on the driveway too long, has woven you both into a safety net neither of you consciously created but both of you depend on. There's something profound about reaching this stage of life and beginning to understand the mathematics of memory. How one person's throwaway moment becomes another person's treasure. How your ordinary Tuesday becomes someone else's turning point. How your simple existence creates ripples you'll never see but that spread far beyond your ability to imagine. The doctor who delivered your children probably doesn't remember the specific details of those births. But he might remember the way you thanked not just him, but every nurse, every orderly, everyone who played a part in bringing new life into the world. In a career filled with medical procedures, you reminded him why he chose healing as his calling. Your children's friends from decades ago, They're adults now, maybe with children of their own. But they still remember the way you made them feel welcome in your home. How you remembered their names, asked about their interests, treated them as individuals rather than just extensions of your kids. For some of them, your home was the first place they experienced unconditional acceptance. This is the paradox of growing older. Just as we begin to worry that our best days are behind us, we start to understand that we've been creating our most important legacy all along. Not through grand achievements or public recognition, but through the accumulation of small kindnesses, patient moments, and quiet examples of how to be human. You worried about not leaving enough behind. But you've been leaving pieces of yourself everywhere you've been. In the way someone learned to handle disappointment by watching you. In the way someone else discovered that it's possible to disagree without being disagreeable. In the way another person understood that true strength sometimes looks like vulnerability. The young mother at the grocery store who was struggling with a crying baby while managing a cart full of necessities, you were behind her in line that day. Instead of showing impatience, you smiled and told her a story about your own children, how they all had their difficult moments. You helped her feel less alone, less judged. She thinks of you whenever she sees another struggling parent, and she passes on the same grace you showed her. Your colleague from years ago, the one who was always too nervous to speak up in meetings, she found her voice partly because you consistently asked for her input. You drew her into conversations, valued her opinions, made space for her thoughts. She's confident now, successful in ways she never imagined possible. But she remembers who saw her potential first. The server at the restaurant where you celebrated your anniversary every year, she looked forward to your visits. Not just because you tipped well, though you did, but because you treated her like a person. You asked about her studies, remembered her goals, cheered her on when she graduated. In a job where she was often invisible, you made her feel seen. These are not small things. These are the things that matter most. The memories you've left without knowing aren't just stored in other people's minds, they've changed who those people are. They've shaped how they move through the world, how they treat others, how they understand what it means to be kind, patient, resilient, genuine. You've been a teacher without a classroom, a healer without a degree, a leader without a title. You've influenced people you've forgotten you ever met. You've created legacy in the most powerful way possible, by living it. Tonight, somewhere, someone is falling asleep thinking about something you did or said. Something that brought them comfort, or courage, or simply a moment of connection in a lonely world. Tomorrow, they'll carry that memory with them, and it will influence how they interact with someone else, creating another ripple, another memory, another small act of human kindness that travels farther than either of you will ever know. The memories you left without knowing are still working their magic. Still teaching. Still healing. Still reminding people that goodness exists, that patience is possible, that love comes in forms both grand and utterly ordinary. You worried about being forgotten. But forgetting isn't the opposite of memory, indifference is. And the lives you've touched could never be indifferent to the gift you've given them, the experience of being truly seen, accepted, and valued by another human being. This is your legacy. Not carved in stone or written in history books, but living and breathing in the hearts and minds of everyone whose path has crossed yours. The memories you left without knowing are the truest measure of a life well lived, not because you tried to be memorable, but because you tried to be present, kind, and authentically yourself. The most beautiful part? You're still creating these memories. Every day you're alive is another opportunity to touch someone's life in ways you'll never know. Another chance to be exactly what someone needs, exactly when they need it, simply by being who you are. The memories you left without knowing have become part of who they are. And now, Understanding this, you can create new ones with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your life has mattered in ways both seen and unseen, remembered and treasured, forever woven into the fabric of human connection that makes this world a little warmer, a little kinder, a little more hopeful. This is what you've given the world, proof that ordinary people can create extraordinary impact, one small moment at a time. If this story found something in your heart that needed to be found, you're not alone in feeling this way. There are others who understand the weight and wonder of these invisible connections. Share what this meant to you, your own memories of being touched by someone's unintentional kindness, or your hopes about the memories you're leaving behind.